hey, we knew Caleb Love was transferring.
We
Where
did.
is he going to go? Now we know. The anticipation, we have the payoff. He found out yesterday that he is going to Michigan.
Which I like that move for him.
Okay.
That's a pretty good move for him. One, I think that, and don't think that this is probably not also a part of the move, but he stays within the Jordan brand, which makes me wonder if maybe he's potentially making some money from Jordan brand, right?
Okay.
So he's going to Michigan. Secondly, he's playing for another former NBA player who's a head coach in Juwan Howard.
Okay.
So maybe he's, of course, the NBA is his ultimate goal. He still gets a chance to learn from somebody who's been there, done that, and he gets a chance to do that. Plus, Michigan is going to play a high level of basketball-ish in the Big Ten, and he probably will have the opportunity to be a leader on that team. Hopefully, they put three-point shooters around him so he's not the go-to three-point shooter.
Sure.
That's yet to be seen, but I like the move for him.
Yeah, last year he shot 29.9% from three. He was not afraid to shoot from three. Now, the year before, his sophomore year, he shot 36%, which is still a little lower than you would want from a regular three-point shooter to have. But nevertheless, that's what he was. I don't know if it was like, hey, they went to the NIT. That's where I want to be. Maybe that was his reasoning for going.
That is hilarious.
Because it was funny because Juwan Howard actually said, hey, we're not too big for this. Like, we're not too big to compete in the NIT. Like, we got invited. We're going to go out there and compete. That's what we do. I don't know. Maybe that was part of the driving force. I'm just saying. I don't know.
You've got the disses already going to.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
I mean, you're petty.
Oh no, I'm not petty.
You're petty.
Am I?
You're petty.
No.
It's part of what makes you a heel. It's part of what makes you a lovable heel.
I'm not. No. Don't know what you're talking about. Don't know what you're talking about at all.
Why don't you like this move? Because I
don't understand. I don't like it.
You're just not sold on it. What do you think was his best option?
I don't know. I don't know what his best option was. I really don't. I mean, maybe Big Ten basketball is what he wants to play, which you're not going to make it to a Final Four or win a national championship, as we know the history of the Big Ten over the last 20 years, or 23 years.
But he's going to be highly overrated and probably be in the top 10 top 25 most of the year. And so you're going to get people talking about you. Maybe it works from a PR standpoint.
Maybe it does. I don't know. I guess a lot of people, we saw, again, the flash of last spring in terms of late February throughout March of 2022. We saw that real flash, that real strong. I mean, you can argue that he had one of the greatest, if not the greatest moment of UNC basketball history, him shooting over
absolutely
Mark Williams in that game against Coach K against Duke in the Final Four.
Absolutely.
Nailing that three-pointer. That was massive. And that's something that will forever and should forever live in UNC basketball lore. With all the other great moments that we've seen in that program's history, that should be right up there with all the other ones, in my opinion. It was a phenomenal moment. And he had that. But then we saw, that again, we had that great moment. And then he struggled a lot this season. Yeah, sure, he put up over 16 points a game, but it was through a volume of shooting, right? It wasn't like it was the most efficient of 16-plus points per game. And one thing that I'm afraid is going to happen to him, this is what I hope doesn't happen to him from the outside perspective, is that people are going to see him go to Michigan, or Michigan fans are going to say, oh, this guy's going to be our savior. This guy's what's going to take us to the top. This was the guy that's going to bring us to the next level. And I hope that people don't put such high expectations on him, and then if the team doesn't live up to that expectations, that it all falls on him. Because I feel like at UNC this past season, there were high expectations, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the brunt of it fell on him. Now, there are other guys that took some heat, but a lot of it in terms of players on the court fell on him. And I don't know if that was fully fair.
I see what you're saying, and I do agree with that. But I think going to a place like Michigan kind of helps alleviate that from happening.
Okay.
And here's why. Juwan Howard is your head coach, and he's been trying to establish something for the last few years there.
Yeah.
So if it ends up falling flat, people are also going to look at Juwan Howard, because it's not like Juwan Howard's done a pretty good job since he's been at Michigan. Sure. But emphasis on pretty good job. It's not like he's blown it out the water.
No.
If he has 2 bad years in a row, he could potentially get fired.
Good.
It's not like he's given himself some grace period. And he's done so well that if he has 2 slip-ups, 2 years with a slip-up, that we'll let you get by because you've shown us before in the past. No, he still needs to really win to kind of prove that he should have this job. I think Patrick, I don't remember for sure, but I feel like Patrick Ewing started off decent at Georgetown before the bottom fell out.
Yeah, it fell apart.
So I feel what you're saying right there with Caleb Love, but I do think that ultimately this will fall on Juwan Howard, and I think it's on Juwan Howard to try to figure out how to get the best out of Caleb Love that Hubert Davis didn't get. Look, Hubert Davis obviously is cool with him just shooting.
Mm-hmm.
No real aim, just shoot.
And
I can't remember the actual stats, but I was talking to Luis Fernandez, and Caleb Love had over 100 shot attempts more per for the entire season, more than the next person at UNC.
Wow.
With only a few more actual makes. The inefficiencies were very glaring, and I wish I had those numbers in front of me. What Juwan Howard needs to end up doing with Caleb Love is to get him to stop falling in love with that three and use your athleticism and your slashing ability to create opportunities for yourself and others.
Yeah.
And your scoring will come from that. Let it be more of a rhythm thing than dribble, 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 move, ISO, shoot. Because that's what he's doing, and I don't think you get anything.
And I think this is part of something we saw, and this is what I would like to see the evolution from Hubert Davis come when in terms of not just the transfer portal and getting guys in, because I think we've only seen one guy actually come in. All these guys go into the portal for UNC, but only one guy actually so far saying he's declared and going to North Carolina.
Yeah.
But one thing that we saw a lot last year in their offense is that what we saw in November was the same thing we saw in the ACC tournament in terms of how their offense was played and their style. And it was the same guys.
Yeah.
So there's no true progression during the regular season, no evolution, I like to say, from UNC basketball during the course of this past season. And I think that's something that we saw a lot of was especially late in shot clocks where it's under 10 seconds. All right, Caleb, go make something happen.
Yeah.
And it was him just throwing up shots. He actually, talking about in terms of stats here, he averaged 7.4 3-point attempts a game, but he also averaged 7.7 2-point attempts a game. So basically half his shots were from three. But he was inside the arc was 45.5%.
Yeah.
So, when he gets inside the lane and stuff, he could be a lot more efficient. Maybe like to see that just him evolve as a player. But part of that could be just what he was told to do.
No,
I don't know. That's the thing. It's like, hey, Caleb, take it, go.
And that's kind of what I was sort of getting at because Hubert Davis is cool with them just shooting.
Yeah.
And I think for Caleb Love, he's a player that I think that you have to have a plan for. Now, you can let him go out there and hey, let's go with the vibes. If you have the shot, take it. However, you average about 7 3-pointers a game. Let's try to get that down to 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And try to get that more in the flow of the game because, I don't have these numbers, but when I'm thinking about Caleb Love and getting his shots, a lot of them are just ISO dribbles into the shot. Let it come in the flow of offense. Make sure that ball is moving, he's moving. And maybe those shots will end up coming better.